Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to the Friday night edition of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears as we get deep into the paranormal tonight with the Mudutu Effect and Matt Lay. Matt has literally the highest quality of beard you can find to ever be on this show. His beard and hair combination is a spectrum we should all gain for. You will see why momentarily. But first, let's say hello to all of you in the chat room. Tonight, we got Nightmare in the gold medal position. Sugar Britches taking home the silver. Race Fan with a bronze medal tonight. Continuing on here, we have Michael Morris, Obi Flett, Chris 716, Robert Lamoth, Eric Markham, Les Paul Holland, D. Cohen, you're early. Emmy Tong, Sundance Kid is here. Sundance Kid will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Forrest Louie, how you doing? Laura Lobbs, number 2 in your program, number 1 in your hearts, starting on defense from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. There he is. Donna, how are you? Good to see you. Hi, Penny Van. And sweet Donna Spencer. Brown Dwarf, nice to have you here. Ukrainian Anita, how are you? And Lisa C., Kurt M., good to have you both here. Human Carl is here, another great veteran of the United States Air Force. Human Carl. We love you around here, Human Carl. Thank you for your service. And continuing on, Chris. Teen, good to see you. Thank you for coming on in. I am Pam. I am Pam. Screw you all. I am Pam. I am Pam. I am Pam. Yep, I am Pam. Deb from Sac, I am Pam. And Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Belletti and my man, I am Pam. Amy Vegas, oh, the countdown is on, my beautiful friend. The countdown is on. Yes, indeed. And I know you know what that means. Gizmo, how you doing? Pat Toohey, Zora, and Pam Harris. Good to have you all here. Hi, Slow Motion. Jessica Vash the Impaler. Nice to have you here. Big Dog is here. Big Dog will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Can't wait to see you in Vegas, my man. Monica, Maggie M10, Philip Baca. Good to see you all. Hi, Stephanie, Kenny Blankenship. How you all doing? And my brother Eugene, thanks for coming on in. Little Granty Baker is here, the Grantavious one. There he is. Please stroke your mustache for us if you don't mind. Shaq Rustleford, how you doing? Forrest Louie, thank you for kicking off this Super Chat tonight. Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you so much. Dark Protocol, thank you for coming on in. And who else do we have here? We have Mike Bothwell, John Loban Creative from Indiana. How you doing, buddy? And Raymond L. I am Pam. And let's see. I am Pam. And Derek Galloway, who says he is Pam. No, I am Pam. Lee the Bee, nice to have you here. And continuing on, Donald Dean, nice to have you back. I am Pam. Big Dog, thank you so much for that super chat, man. Very much appreciate the love and the fact that you brought my Spaced Out Radio shirt to a soccer game. Yeah, we'll have words about that, my friend. Meg, the Mac Geek, how you doing, buddy? And Pammy Smith, I am Pam. And Big J, what's happening? Penman, Digger Dog, good to see you. Sparkles on Facebook. Let's get the radio side open. Hopefully Bill WD-40 shows up tonight because we really do need to be lubed up for tonight's show. And Roger Murray, welcome to SOR Chat. And I am Pam. And Grantavius Maximus with a nice super chat right there for the old Bucker 99er. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. That's high mustache quality, that one. Mr. Mayhem, how you doing? Welcome to the chat room. And T2E, nice to see you, my beautiful friend. And Blue Cruz, good to have you back. We're running out of time here. Can we do it? Geek Calgary, TMI, how are you guys doing? All right, that's it right there. I got to cut it off. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. A power show of paranormal tonight. Matt Lay from the Madudo Effect is here. And then in hour 3, we're going to head to the swamp. From there, little Timmy Senor will round things out with a jam-packed UFO report. All right. Matt Lay has been involved in the paranormal for most of his life. The United States Air Force veteran now lives in Regina, Saskatchewan after marrying his fellow paranormal investigator, Alyson Ford. Yeah, Matt is definitely a lucky dude on that one. Allison's amazing. The Madudo Effect is a collaborative effort born from a paranormal investigations with his former group P.A.S.T. and over 35 years of research and practice in the occult and metaphysical realm. The goal with the Mudutu Effect is not only to explore theories, but to test them as well. Any research must provide quality tested products built on centuries of research, which have developed into modern times. The other thing that Matt loves to do is teach people the proper ins and outs, the do's, the don'ts of paranormal investigation. And considering it's starting to warm up around North America, I figured it would be a great time to bring in our good friend with the magical hair and the gorgeous beard to actually teach us how to paranormal investigate. Matt Lay, how you doing, my man? It's always
I'm doing just great.
I got to be honest with you, man. What is it like having the best hair and beard combination in the paranormal? Be honest. Don't be shy here.
Well, everybody just calls me the wizard, so I don't know how to take that.
It is a beautiful combination. This is what, see, when I had my long hair and was growing the beard, this is what I was going for. The Matt Lay effect. The Matt Lay effect. It didn't work for me, but that's okay. I gave it a valiant effort at one point.
My daughter always picks on me saying, you're never going to be Dumbledore. I'm like, watch me.
Matt, 35 plus years of investigating the paranormal, and there is still so much to learn and so much to do and so much to test. When you look back at your length of time studying the paranormal, what's probably the most impressive thing you have learned through that time?
Never assume that you know it all. Um, yeah, the biggest, my biggest thing, even I've written a book, and I find that even those theories during that time are now, I can disprove them. You have to always be continually learning. You cannot get wrapped up into this is how it is. And that's been the greatest challenge, I think, for me.
Do you think it's because the phenomena, whatever the phenomena truly is ever changing and knows a lot more sharp turns than we give it credit for?
I think it's a combination of that and our, uh, as humans, and I'm using that term as a dirty word, uh, is our inability to accept change. We get so locked into one theory. And like you said, as things evolve, things change. And I mean that on a broader spectrum. We, as an individuals, need to change too. Our thought processes, how we look at things, our perceptions have to evolve as well. So, regardless of how paranormal may evolve, we have to evolve too, the way we look at things.
So going back, and our audience is ever changing and ever shifting since the last time you were on. Going back, what happened that made you decide that the paranormal was something you needed to investigate, that you needed to move your life around in order to make sure that you were learning what you needed to learn?
Well, let's step back. In the old days, uh, I grew up in extreme South. Everything, when I say extreme South, I grew up in Mobile, Alabama. Now, this is right after the Gulf Breeze incidents, and everything else that's going on. UFO sightings were not uncommon. Bigfoot sightings were not uncommon. It was literally the norm that was going on. And you had two choices. One is to accept the norm or go out and find the answers. And I was one of those, kids that always went out and had to find the answers. Everything in the South is superstitions, a lot of superstitions. And, but a lot of those superstitions are brought through centuries of uh, stories and tales of something that may have happened that nobody could explain. So that's where I come out of, and that's the way my perception is. I look at those, but now, looking back at those times, I wish I had the library, the wealth of information that's sitting around me. Do I know all the answers? No. No one, in my eyes, no one can claim to be an expert. We can say we have history. We can say we have experience, but to be an expert, because this is an ever-changing field and theories, you know, you have to keep rolling with the punches.
Do you remember the first ghost you ever chatted with?
Yes, the very first one is in the '80s, and I'll never forget it. I was brought in with an investigation team, and it wasn't necessarily a chat, but it was a situation where a member of the family was actually manifesting the energies that was going on, and you know we can get into that topic later, but uh, it wasn't an actual, because they were like, it's a harmful spirit, is what they kept saying. And so they had asked me to come in and with them and evaluate it. And it, through communication and through observation, I discovered that it was actually a member of the family that was projecting this energy. It wasn't an actual haunting. It wasn't a spirit per se, but it was a manifestation of energy and thought. So that was my first encounter.
Hmm. What was the most profound thing over time that a ghost has either taught you or said to you?
Hmm. That's a touchy one. Because I'm not a, let me just real quick clarify. I'm not 100% convinced that everything is a ghost. That's
Hmm.
what, you know how I feel about the term ghost hunter. Um, but paranormal, yes. Ghost, there's too many other theories out there for me to put my finger on it and say this is a ghost. But the most profound thing, excuse me, I would have to honestly say was not during an investigation. Um, and um, I, I'm trying to figure out how the best way to put this. And I mean, I don't want to pull a whole bunch of woo into this because we're trained. But it was a early stage in the late '80s, and I was doing um, a group session. And back then, the only camera you had was those ones that tore your shoulder down, and an EVP recorder was those electromagnetic tapes and everything else. But we were doing an actual. We were combining occult sciences with the paranormal studies with electronic background. And in doing this, we kept getting these flashes of images continually, which I thought were pretty much so ridiculous. And it turned out to be later on, a couple of years later, it turned out to be the Akbakar language from the Chaldeans. So that would be the most profound one. I would have to honestly say it stuck with me throughout all the years.
When you look at how powerful a message from the other side can be, ranging from, sadness to apathy to anger to whatever emotion you want to feel. The reason for communication for the other side is what, Matt? What are we looking to gain out of this?
You know what? Honestly, Dave, when you look in the mirror, first thing in the morning, you're either going to get the aspect that's going to scare the crap out of you, or, like in my case with this hair and the beard. But in looking at the other side, whatever your definition is of the other side, the veil, or however you want to look at it, we're looking for a better explanation of us. Um, because how are we perceived from the other side? And in order to understand that and to gain respectful communication, you have to try to understand the conversation that you're having. Does that make sense?
I'm struggling with that. I mean, the
Okay.
conversation that we're having. Okay, help me out here.
Well, perceptions are everything. And all of our basic outlines, our communication right now, uh, to whether it's in person or through digital, everything are based off of this physical universe. So to have proper communication across the veil, or however you want to, define that, you don't know what those formulas are, because from sight, sound, everything is based off of this physical universe. We have formulas specifically for those, timing, everything. When you're trying to understand and carry on a conversation when you don't know the actual physics of that universe, that's what we're trying to understand. Because in order to bridge that gap, you have to try to come up with a. I wish we could use Star Trek translators, but we don't have that convenience. But we have to better bridge that understanding, whether it be through sight, sound, through timing. And that's what our studies and that's what our research is all based about.
Okay. I get that. Why do we want to connect with the dead? Why is this study important?
Well, there's always that ultimate question: what happens when you die? Um, I Everybody has their own theories, their own philosophies, and their own dogmatic approach. But to communicate with the dead, um, I'm not going to say personally, that's not what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to achieve communication to what the paranormal. Um, in a paranormal world, it's where you can't explain it through science, through common science. And with this being a paranormal world, you got multidimensional theories, you have interplanetary, you have all these different aspects. It's not always a ghost. So, so that's why I don't really care for the communication to the dead. It's like one of my biggest pet peeves when somebody goes on an investigation. Go, how did you die? Oh, get out.
No, I can understand that, but I mean, is this something that we should be playing with? For a lot of people, they look at the dangers of it. They look at, well, you don't know what you're communicating with, you don't know what you're invoking or anything along those lines, Matt. But is paranormal investigation, and I know you hate that term, and ghost hunting, and I know you hate that term, and any other term that you hate that I'm going to throw at you tonight, is it a selfish curiosity? Because
um,
we are curious about confirming for ourselves if there is true life after death.
it is a it is a curiosity. To be very blunt, regardless of the whether it's what terminology or how you want to label it, it is a curiosity. Um, and yes, you get the whole curiosity killed the cat and blah blah blah. But um, fear, the individual's fear, is what drives all those extra cautions. A dogmatic approach throws out those extra cautions. You have to shut all those down and look at it from a completely analytical. Paranormal research is not science, but you take a scientific approach in coming up with these answers.
Okay. So once again, it kind of leads me to my question. Why should we be doing this? Why should we be dabbling in something that we know nothing about?
Well, it's been going on for centuries. I've got manuscripts going back 17th century. They're all here for the public at Madudo Effect, and we're not the only ones that have been doing it. This has been going on for a long time. And what's interesting is if you look at, there was one manuscript, and I apologize, I can't remember the monk's name, but he had these this interesting paper. I was just reading that document, and he was put to death for heresy. But now, in wormhole theory and quantum theoretics, a lot of his information is being looked at. So when you have all this past paperwork, yes, you have the what full width and what thous of all this old documentation. Um, you look at the alchemy documents, and okay, you have the red queen and the white king, and yeah, it sounds like somebody's playing a bad game of poker, but they're talking about hydrochloric acid. So it's not these forthwith from what thous and these things that people threw to the side saying they're not really applicable to today. They are. And so the whys, I'm going back to the curious. The or is this some new craze that's been going on? No, this has been going on for centuries, and people are always seeking those answers. Now, granted, they're going around the time frame and the social acceptance of that period. If you're living in the Middle East, you're going to look at it one way. If you're living in the States, you're going to look at it a different way. It's all based off of your geographic regions.
Hmm. The spiritual context of it all, going back in the past, society was a lot more religious, a
Mhm.
lot more faith-based than what we see today, where paranormal seems to become more the thrill of a game or a thrill of a chase. What has changed between back then, Matt, and what we see now?
To be very honest, very little. Um, Unfortunately, there are we had this discussion, I think, a couple of years ago about the percentage of legitimate paranormal teams, and it was very, very low. The problem is you have two different types. One is the enthusiast. They're just going out for the thrill of it. The roller coaster ride of an investigation. They want that thrill. They're not there to try to come up with answers. Then you've got the paranormal teams that are legitimately testing out theories and coming up with new ideas, reevaluating everything that they've done. Those are legitimate teams. But to go back to that, a dogmatic approach in the investigations. Um, yeah, unfortunately, I've got some audio recordings, some voicemails of people literally crying because people push the religious point of view to scare the client to provide them money for their services. So when they bring in the dogmatic point of view on a paranormal investigation, every caution, we were talking about do's and don'ts. You see that immediately, that's a don't.
Right, right. People who decide to get involved with this, as we got about 2.5 minutes before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Matt Lay is our guest. People who decide to get involved in the paranormal, why should they do it? What is in it for them?
There's very little in it for you. If you're looking for monetary gain, you're in it for the wrong reasons. But why should you do it? That's up to the individual because everybody's got their own questions. The important part is understanding why you're doing it as an individual, not as what you saw on TV, not what you hear from your friends, but as an individual, you need to make that decision. Um, but also be willing to share that information because that's the only way we learn. We learn from each other.
Okay. And the point of learning is what though? I mean, there's just so much going on with the intensity and the energy surrounding everything of a supernatural aspect that at times I wonder if this is for everybody. If this
Oh,
is something that people can enjoy, whether they're serious about it or whether they're going on a haunted tour at Gettysburg.
yeah, a lot of people, this is not for them. You'll be surprised at how many people say that this is what I want to do. And after the first intense investigation, which we can cover later, I'm out. Nope, because they can't let loose of their personal philosophies, their own personal fears. And then they get wrapped up and they end up horrifying them own selves.
That's very true. That's very true. I mean, there's a lot that goes on. I don't think a lot of people understand, Matt, as we get ready to go to break here, that you can take something home with you. You can have a hitchhiker. You can have a ghost attachment. You can have, some sort of bad energy that follows you. And if you don't know how to clear it, cleanse it, all from that one little instance, you could be in a lot more trouble than what you think it is because it's not about just going on a ghost hunt. It's
Correct.
about it's not like a carnival ride or Disneyland's haunted house where you're just hanging out with the spirits and they're singing songs and holding hands and sharing a tea with you. That's not what it's about. When we come back from the break here at the bottom of the hour with Matt Lay from the Mudutu Effect, we're going to learn about ghost hunting. Even though he hates that term, what makes the paranormal special to investigate? Spaced Out Radio, with our good friend Matt Lay coming up next. All right, we are clear. I just want to say hello to a few people here. Hi, Mama Susan in Edmonton. Good to see you. Who else is joining us here? Let's see here. Nero and Examined Bear. An Examined Bear. Welcome to SOR Chat. Jeff Steve Garvey, he'll hit a home run for you. And Random Gee. What's happening, Random Gee? Rano how you doing? Rano down there. Justin Trudeau's biggest fan. Always brings a cloth around to scrub his shoes, make them shiny. Noodles, how you doing? Susie B and Lovey Love. How's my ladies tonight? Matt, your beard looks gorgeous.
I didn't put any beads in tonight.
That's okay. That's okay. Au naturel is just gorgeous.
Normally I put my runes in.
I try applesauce. I try. Good old Canadian kid, Mike Bothwell, adding to that super chat. Thank you, buddy. Very much appreciate it. We're all going to meet in Saskatchewan. All us Canadians, we're going to meet in Saskatchewan in Regina at the Mudutu Effect headquarters.
Yes.
Free your mind. How are you? Yeah, we're going to meet there and hang out and learn the paranormal the proper way from Matt Lay. Who's in, all Canadians? We'll allow the Americans in too, but you're going to have a passport.
Yeah.
Logan L., how you doing? We'll do it later this year. $150 a person. $150 a person. Maximum 20 people. How's that sound, Matt?
That works for me. That sounds like a party.
Yeah. Shade Viking, eh? How you doing, eh? Uh-huh. Yeah, we're going to Vegas first, though. Then we have time to save up our dimes again to go to Saskatchewan. Thank you, Derek, for the lovely super chat. And thank you, Jeff Steve Garvey, for an amazing super chat as well. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, man. Peter Thorgerson, how you doing, man? Ghost cats meow. Do cats talk on the other side? Yes, they do. All ghost animals do. We'll ask that in an hour or two for Matt. Do you get your nails painted black still?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I don't have them. No.
No, I know. Just thought I would ask, making conversation. Yes, you always need a passport to get into Canada since 2002, when the Canadian government got blamed for the 9/11 terrorists getting into the United States.
Yeah, I remember.
I'm still trying to figure that one out.
I remember crossing the border with driver's license and
Oh yeah,
barely even stopping at the.
oh yeah. Evan Walters, you're pissing me off, buddy. You've only been here about 2 seconds, and already I'm angry. Pissing me off, Evan Walters. Good to see you, buddy. All right, we got about 30 seconds. Thank you to Louie, Big Dog, Grant, Obi Flat, Deb, Mike, Derek, and Jeff for the amazing super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And yeah, we're going to continue with the ghost talk right after about 5 seconds or so. Sit tight, relax. We're going to get going here in a second. Second half hour Spaced Out Radio is a go right now. My name is Dave Scott, your host, with all the weird stuff around the world. Reminder to you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. From Regina, Saskatchewan, height unknown, weight unknown, but we know he is a wizard when it comes to communicating with the other side. From the Mudutu Effect, Matt Lay. It's always good to have you here, my man.
Always a pleasure. It's been a while.
It has way too long, way too long. But I'm glad you're here, and it's always fun chatting with you about the paranormal and supernatural and everything that kind of goes along with it. I'm curious, my man, when you are on an investigation and you are or wanting to start an investigation, and I know you get a lot of questions from people from around the world. How do I do this? How do I get into the paranormal? I want to learn more. And I know you're somebody who likes it when people want to do it for the right reasons. We'll stay out of the politics side of it for tonight. But how do people start? What should they be doing? What should they be looking for? How do they find a haunted location?
Well, usually those places find them. And I mean that in the biggest level of jest. Because, well, let's start with the individual. When they, are looking for the gear, we always tell everybody the best tool in the arsenal is the individual. Yes, I'm a tech junkie, but at the end of the day, it's the individual. And but as far as the locations, everybody's got a ghost story. Everybody's got a different tale. Here in Saskatchewan, there's one around every corner, right down the street. We just recently learned is a hotspot for UFO activity. If you're looking for, literally right around the corner from here is one of the most haunted locations. Here at Milestone. So it's everywhere. Some of it's just tales, people just talking about the creaks and the bumps that they heard, but some of them have proven to be legit. And that's the thing. You can't just immediately assume that place is not haunted or that one's just a story. You have to go out and actually investigate.
Okay, so when you are setting up, like you said something very important there, which is you're the main conduit. You're the main piece of gear. You're the main everything. Explain that a little bit deeper for our audience who may, they watch television shows, and they see online all of these teams with all sorts of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. Explain what we're talking about with you being the number one tool in the arsenal.
I mean, I've been called a tool many times in my life, but But in this, let's give you a simple example, a very simple one. Okay, a camera, a simple camera. Every paranormal investigator walks around with one. A camera records at 29.7 frames per second, or hertz. That's what it is. We see on average, you notice there's a keyword in there, average. We see on average 30 frames per second, or 30 hertz. Well, but the brain, according to West Virginia University, the brain can process quick flash images up to 70 frames per second. Now, so that means, well, I've said it. I'm raising my hand up. I've said it before. If it didn't happen on camera, it didn't happen at all. Well, that's not true. And once again, your brain can process these images a lot more efficient than a camera can. Now, granted, we have cameras that record up to 200 frames per second. We don't want to miss any opportunity. But also, your body has a natural static field, has a natural grounding effect. All these different things. Everybody's individual energy can either attract or repel. So, as the individual itself, you feel the hairs on your arm go up and a static field is increasing. It's not because you were scared or because you got cold, but also got to consider the static field that's happening.
Okay. That's a lot for a lot of people to take in for a second here, Matt, because most people think we're going to run around, we're going to get some gear, we're going to take some photos, run some audio on our smartphone, download a couple of apps, and all I want to do is sit against a wall and watch a rocking chair move with old Grandma Toonses saying, "Get back to the farm there, Willie." You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that's what people want.
That's exactly what they don't realize. A proper investigation, when I hold my courses, they're 4 hours long. You know, people expect a 30-minute course and then they can go out and ghost hunt. They don't realize that there's a lot of preparation, because you got to study the history. You got to look at the geographic area. You got to do an initial sweep, make sure you don't have electrical interference or radio interference, because all these are contaminants. You also have to understand whether or not heavy traffic is in the area, because that's going to also contaminate EVPs. All this is a preliminary step before you even step in the door to do an investigation. And that could take up to weeks, depending on the individual. Then, when you actually do the investigation, it's not like a TV show. It's not 30 minutes or 1 hour. You're there for up to 14 hours. And a lot of times you're just sitting in the dark. Nothing is happening. You think nothing is happening. Best example, just a quick uh, ramble. We were at the German club in Regina. Literally at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, I am so bored. Nothing, absolutely nothing is going on. And that we caught a full body apparition. We were able to get all the evidences that tied the history of the German club with the owners. But did it happen in front of us? No, it didn't happen in front of us. It wasn't until evidence review, which is another 2 weeks of reviewing information and challenging it.
Okay, so you really can't just go to a location, spend an hour or two there, and make the assumption that it's purely haunted or not haunted at all.
Right.
Because I love this scenario where, you know, people go to these locations, whether it's a haunting or whether it's Skinwalker Ranch or whether it's Gettysburg or wherever, they spend less than a day there and nothing happens. And they're like, oh, wow, well, this was a waste of time. You know, there's no hauntings here. There's nothing to do here. You know, I mean, it's like you're supposed to press a button the minute you enter this location, and all the ghosts are supposed to, take their time card, punch in, and all of a sudden decide it's haunting time.
Oh, that's true. We spent 3 days camping out at one location, and we probably ended up with maybe like 20 minutes worth of evidence. I mean, it you cannot just immediately assume. But also, you bring up a good point, though. We have friends, very close, Allison and myself, that are in the big production, TV shows and things like that. And their producers have told them they need the lights to blink. They need that activity to happen, or else it's not a show. Who wants to watch a show where they just nothing happened? You know, and there's a lot of times it's kind of like fishing. Honestly, it's just like fishing. You go out to the same spot, you get you get a fish, and then all of a sudden you go weeks with no fishing. You get nothing. But you still go back to your favorite spot. Um, because eventually you're going to catch that big fish that you were hoping for. But the to go with the going out to these locations and expecting everything to happen. When I do my course, I actually show how, and this is from people on these TV shows that have showed me how they cause the equipment to trigger. That's why I'm not a fan of K2s. That's why I'm not a fan of some of the equipment, because they're too susceptible to uh, for outside interference.
I think that's a brilliant way to put it. So outside of yourself, if you were telling me how to set up my own ghost team and
Mhm.
what kind of equipment we should add, what should I do? Explain it for me.
Um,
Let's say I have a $300 to $500 budget.
okay. Uh, well, let's start with the location, because the location is going to be the most important, because you may not need a large team. You may need just a couple of people. Because the more people you have on a team, the worst thing you can do is cram a whole bunch of people in a small location. You're just, you're just wasting your time. But start with you picked a location. Let's say it's 1,000 square foot location, and you've got two people that are going to be helping you with this. That's plenty for that size. Um, so the simplest thing is an EVP recorder. Ideally, be great if it recorded in WAV, not MP3 or RAW, because they're not compressed. And also taking consideration, and we can go through that later, but when you do the review on the EVPs, it's not just play it and go, oh, there we go. And if you can, an IR camera, preferably, I prefer full spectrum, only because when you're looking at the IR bandwidth on all the spectrums, it's a very small sliver that you're utilizing. So you want to kind of widen that spectrum a little bit more. Simple as that. A notepad, if you're just starting out, that's what I would recommend. It's the simplest things.
Mm-hmm. A notepad, a pen that works,
Mhm.
extra batteries, because
Yeah.
for some reason batteries are always kind of going off the deep end.
That's where I can go on my praise of my wife's theory, uh, because she started watching all these TV shows, and she started asking the questions. Why is it all the batteries keep draining? Well, they're DC power, DC voltage. Well, why do they keep using EMF pumps and everything? Why don't they focus on DC? So that's when she came up with an idea for a device that only did a static field or a DC field. So that way she could simulate that.
The idea with that we want to do this and we want to put a team together. One of the biggest, and I laugh at this, Matt,
Mhm.
and I know you and I have talked about this prior. Okay. But one thing I laugh about current ghost teams is they always have the team skeptic on their website, and he's always posing on an angle with his arms crossed looking down. Look at me. I'm Mr. Team Skeptic. Nothing gets by me. I,
He's-
this is one of the biggest laughs I have in the paranormal, man. It really is, because they always got that.
They're
I
usually
have
the
to
first one that
look.
runs out the door too.
But why do you need a team skeptic? Should you not be skeptical already going in? Be your own worst critic?
Yes, 100%. Um, you have to be not only critical of everything that's going on around you, but also yourself. You got to check yourself. What's your energy? What do you bring into the to that environment? If you are having a crappy day and you're just angry, I moved here from Atlanta, so just a 30-minute drive could get you in that mood. So if you have all those frustrations, you're not going into the best environment. Think of it as well, honestly, think of it as an interview. Would you go into an interview all angry and frustrated and just hating on the world right now from that crappy drive? You're not going to get the job. They're going to think you have an attitude. It's the same concept. When we carry these conversations, we have to do it respectfully and openly without um, presumptions of the answers right away.
Hmm. No, and I could see that. But I mean, when I look at it, like, and Matt, I know you're like me. You've had a ton of experiences personally.
Hmm.
I break them all down. I'm trying to see, okay, like for instance, when we saw a Sasquatch in the forest October, okay, the first thing that's going through my mind is, okay, is that a bear? Is that a person? What else could that be that's standing up? Is it a tree shadow? Is it the way the moonlight is playing off the ground? This is what goes through my head in trying to build a process of elimination. I may be, one of the world wonders of woo,
Hmm.
but on the flip side, when I'm out there, even though I'm not an investigator, I'm not a researcher, I'm just a dude out there for an experience. I'm still trying to be skeptical to make sure that when I come back and sit in front of this microphone and I tell my audience what happened to me on the weekend, I want to be as close to accurate as possible,
Hmm.
right? Because there's always a hint of inaccuracy and you got to be prepared for that. But I want to be able to share with them the truth of what happened or the truth of what I saw. So you have to be your own skeptic on what's going on.
I had a situation several years ago, and where an image, it looked like somebody was standing at it was a door with a large glass, and I was the only person in this sanatorium, and uh, so I had a rover that I made, and it goes down the hallway and it's taking snapshots and all this other stuff, another gadget. And one of the snapshots, the first snapshot, looks like somebody walks up to the glass and is watching me. In the second snapshot, there's more. And then a second snapshot, and behind that is another person. So did I immediately go, oh, there we go. We got our evidence? No, that was not, to me, that's not evidence. That's a huge question because no glass surface is perfectly smooth. Was it the IR light bouncing off the glass? Was this moonlight from outside reflecting? So the next day we went and measured the smoothness of the glass. We still couldn't debunk it, but you have to question these things. You have to question even yourself, and that's you need to find, if you can't find a logical explanation, then it's classified as paranormal.
Very true. Very true. It's classified as paranormal, and that's the big thing that we are trying to solve. But I mean, people also have to understand, as we got about 5 minutes to go here, Matt, that you're not going to get answers from anybody. Okay,
Mm-mm.
you're not going to get your own answers. Your own answers are going to be fulfilled with what you can figure out on your own. But you can't expect to have everything that kind of goes on. What? How am I trying to say this? You can't expect everything to line up perfectly.
Right. It's 100%. I still go back and review that evidence. Every time. every time you find an answer, you're just opening the door for another question. There's literally, because you may have an answer based off of your personal biases, what you know currently at this time, and you always want to go back and review that information, because as you evolve and grow, now you're coming up with more questions to those answers you had in the past.
Very true. How important is it to find similarities?
Similarities and
Well, in evidence.
to me it's a rush personally. But for example, German club again, we called her EVP of a girl giggling. Okay, then we was trying to debunk it, whatnot. So why we went back to the German club, talked to the owners. They explained to us how a girl had passed away on stage, and every time she got nervous, she would giggle. Uh, so those bridging gaps, those similarities that tie into tales in the different stories, I love those. Now, is that the answer? I don't accept it personally, because I'm not a huge ghost person.
If you're not a ghost person, what are you? Explain that to people.
um, I explore what is, I want to find the unknown and to help it become more known. Now, each individual has their own biases, their own philosophies, their own point of views. That's up to the individual to make those conclusions. But when I find this information, we don't hide it. We don't store it in a bank or anything. We make it extremely public. We throw them on videos on YouTube or whatever else. But all we want people to do is ask questions. You got to ask questions and not accept that somebody came to you and said, you have a demon, you have a ghost, you have this. You make those conclusions. There's my soapbox.
No, and I understand that. Is it as dangerous as what they say, though?
No, no, it's the individuals that usually make it dangerous. And everything that I've encountered, if you carry on a respectful conversation, actually, I find going to Walmart more dangerous than anything. But if you go into any situation carrying on a respectful communication, is either two things going to happen. The communication will not go anywhere. And what do? You leave, or you start bridging that gap and you start to learn. And so does that other individual.
What about children? We got about 90 seconds to go here.
Mhm.
Should people take children out?
No. The biggest thing is the children's imaginations are too great. That's an energy, chaotic energy. Even though children are great, don't get me wrong, but in an investigation, you have to have a controlled environment with not only your personal energy, but those who on your team would never take children on an investigation.
Yeah, and we should make a point too. There's a big difference between a paranormal investigation and, say, going on a museum ghost tour,
Right.
where it's a very much a controlled environment where you're not delving into anything too deep or potentially sinister. I mean, we do have to make that clarification.
Yes. That's a tour.
Very true. Very true. All right, my man. We only got about 30 seconds left here before we got to go to break. Matt, the idea behind kids, though, is they are very in tune. They haven't closed off those spatial areas yet, correct?
Correct. They're more, they haven't been pre-programmed by society to not think outside the box. And as we grew older, between whatever education system, it doesn't really matter. You are tend to be programmed to stay a thought process within a certain boundary.
And on that note, we're going to go to hour number 2 after this break here on Spaced Out Radio. And when we return, we'll take some of your questions about what you think of the paranormal, supernatural, and everything that goes along with it. Matt Lay from the Mudutu Effect here on Spaced Out Radio tonight. We're having a great time talking all things supernatural. That's what we do right here on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. Hour number 2 is next. All right, we are clear, my man. Hello, Candy Wolf. Vash the Impaler. Sweet Donnie Cho. What's happening? Oh, he kills me. Look at this. I went on a paranormal investigation once. It was a mission fail, hooked up with 0 goth chicks. That's hilarious. Hello, gorgeous Kira. How are you? Oh, that makes me laugh. Matt, I'm going to put you back in the green room for a couple minutes. I will be right back. And yeah, we'll return here in a second. Hi, sweet Bobby Younce. How are you? I'll be right back. All right. I am back. Hello, Mennonite Abe. How you doing? Who else is showing up here? Area 51. How you doing, buddy? Wes H. Good to see you. Let's see here. Oh, Kira's late because she had a hair appointment, everybody. She had a hair appointment. Mm-hmm. It's all about Kira's hair. Thank you to Louie, Big Dog, Grant, Obi Flett, Deb, Mike, Derek, and Jeff for the amazing super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show each and every night. So thank you. Thank you to all our new subscribers. And thank you guys to everyone hitting that thumbs up and ringing that bell. Here we go with hour 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Tally-8. Tally-8 is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Matt Lay is here from the Mudutu Effect, based out of Regina, Saskatchewan, hanging on out, teaching us all about the paranormal tonight, and we're having a great time with him. Matt, thank you so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure. Always.
Before we get to audience questions,
Mhm.
I want to ask you about the rights and wrongs of paranormal. Why should somebody get into it? And what are some rookie mistakes that are made? Let's get into why someone should get into this.
The whys are literally up to the individual. Unfortunately, the whys tend to come from TV shows and movies and things like that. But as far as the individual, if you talk to me, that's one reason. Talk to my wife, that's a different reason. My former teammates, each of them had their own individual reasons why they got into the paranormal field. But as far as the reasoning behind to get into the paranormal field as a whole, and you know how much I hate the word ghost hunting, because someone assumed that they saw a ghost or they had a ghostly encounter and they want to know more. That's usually what triggers it for an investigator. And the enthusiasts tend to go with the TV shows and the movies and stuff like that. So the whys, I hate to say it, but it's really up to their social, geographic, and their own individual goals to achieve that.
Okay, so when someone gets into this, what are some of those errors that new people seem to make within this field, and what should they be aware of?
Oh, there's so many. Literally, there's so many. One of the ones that I just saw the comment. One of the largest ones, they come in screaming, yelling, demanding, shouting, being damaging property, uh things like this. You wouldn't want somebody coming into your home to carry on a conversation and doing that. Of course, these are the ones that the investigations tend to go sideways, and I wonder why. um the biggest mistake people tend to make is they get so wrapped up in they use TV shows as a guidebook on how to do an investigation, and that's not how it works. uh, you have to maintain respect at all times and keep an open mind. The one of the largest, my biggest pet peeve is when people come in with their biases. Immediately you have religious biases, you have cultural biases, all these different things, and you bring these into an investigation, and they have no place there. That is honestly the largest struggle for anybody, because they want to be able to associate whatever's happening to what they already know. And like I always say in my class, you have to understand you know nothing when you're stepping into this uh, investigation field. You literally go in expecting nothing and knowing nothing.
Hmm. So when somebody goes into an investigation, is it a matter of they're all keen, they're gung ho, they open up the door, let us go in there?
Mhm.
But what about preparation before going in, whether it's meditation, whether it's prayer, whether it's prayer afterwards, or whatever it may be?
Meditation is really good. Um, Meditation, or some people do smudging. Some people, it all depends on what your individual path is. Uh, but once again, let's say, like, if you are going on to a location that you may be Christian, for example, and you're doing this elaborate prayer for protection and whatnot, that's really a comfort for you. It's not going to help you in that environment, because you don't know what cultural or religious background is actually there. Um, that's that's more for you. So your state of mind is really for you, your comfort zone. Now, if you're putting too much effort into protecting yourself, that means you're already stepping into that location with fear in your heart. And if you're stepping in with fear, that's going to manifest in that location. So you can't bring those fears, those internal fears, into a location. If you do, you're already contaminated it.
Right. What do you mean by contaminated it?
Well, fear, anger, happy, doesn't really matter. That's an energy. The emotions are energy, and you can't go into a location expressing overly fear. If you're jumping at everything, over time you're going to manifest. Let's say, like, the only way that we have a language barrier. I know I'm from the South and I have the accent, so that probably is here. But still, let's say we have a language barrier and we're trying to find a common ground to communicate. And I see that you react to fearful things. You jump, you're scared, you're, freaking out over the smallest things. Well, that might be the best way for me to communicate. I may mean absolutely no harm, but if I can't get any words across to you, and I realize that you're going to respond to me by startling you, guess what? I'm going to carry on that conversation the best way I know how. And that's the problem, is we go into these investigations, and um, a lot of people, real investigators, are going toward that item that landed on the ground, or that noise, or different things along those lines.
Chasing down a haunted location.
Mhm.
should people stay out of certain areas, whether it's a cemetery? I don't like paranormal investigation in cemeteries, for instance. To me, that just it's a little uncomfortable when you're in supposed to be a place of rest.
Well, number one, I always say this: if I'm going to haunt somewhere, I'm not going to haunt a hole in the ground. I'm going to be haunting a beach. I'm going to be somewhere where I want to be. Um, but number two, there's the other aspect. Whenever, and we're going to go with an old supernatural tale. It's story time. Um, there's a lot of stories where people go and they do investigations in cemeteries and they get run off by something with glowing eyes and whatnot. Well, that's actually an old tale. And okay, I'm not disproving it. I'm not uh, anything, but this has been around for a very long time. The first person buried into a cemetery is supposed to be the guardian of the cemetery. So a lot of times in the small towns or whatnot, if the biggest, baddest dog that passed away, they would bury it in that cemetery. So it would be the guardian of that cemetery. There's a whole bunch of tales where people get chased out by this red eyed, glowing creature of a cemetery. Or according to legend, that's supposed to be the guardian. You're not supposed to be there. So uh, I'm not a fan of cemetery investigations. I personally, I find it disrespectful. Also, people that break into locations, that's very disrespectful. You have to have permission to be there on so many different levels.
What if a spirit doesn't want you there? When you talk about permission, should you ask spirits for permission to investigate them?
I always do. Um, every location. I don't know if it's the whole wizard look or what, but I always burn custom incense at that location and say, I'm not here to cause any harm or be disrespectful. I'm asking your permission to come into your house. This is your place and that I'm investigating. So either I'm asking or I'm politely saying, may I come in? You know,
Right. Right. And what if the spirit says, "No, don't really want you here."
well, it's time for me to pack up and move because it's no different than, you fly all the way here and I meet you at the door and say, I don't want you here. Yeah, you're going to be, mad at me, but you won't walk in.
Oh, very true. Okay. But what about other locations? Like let's say for instance, a house that has a fresh crime scene in it.
Mm,
Or you get these people out there and they're all over the internet where when a celebrity dies
mhm.
and immediately they're trying to contact that celebrity on the other side. I mean, where's the respect level? Where do you draw the line?
Well, every one of those categories sounds very disrespectful for me because I'm not looking for a ghost. I'm looking for an event so that I can better understand other events that happen. But prime example, huge bus crash happened here in Saskatchewan. It was horrible. And then a paranormal team posted on Facebook that they were going to go out there, do their investigation at the crash site, and bring a psychic to move them onto the light. Um, that was a absolutely horrific declaration. Um,
I heard they got booted out of there.
they did. Uh, that is, I know we were talking about that at one time, right after it happened. I made you aware of it as well, and they're shut down. No one will even allow them because we made it very public knowledge of what they were doing. So,
It, it's just amazing to me though that some people will go that far in order to serve their own ego. So in that case, for people who don't know, 5 years ago, there was a hockey team from Humboldt, Saskatchewan, that had a semi truck collide with their bus, and it killed 16 of the 29 people on the bus. A horrific accident happened during hockey playoffs. And to this day, many of us, hockey fans, hockey lovers, we still put out hockey sticks on the anniversary at our front doors in honor and memoriam of the Humboldt Broncos and their loss, even though it's 5 years later. And the idea behind that, somebody would try and take advantage of that for their own gain. I mean, that's just, in my opinion, just mentally wrong, Matt.
Well, there's those paranormal investigators that are looking for, and I'm using the term investigator very loosely with this group of people. They're just looking for fame. That's all they want. They want that name, the clout, everything. I could care less if anybody even knows what I look like or what my name is. We have our small group that we do our investigations. We come up with our conclusions. Well, actually, we have two separate groups, and there's no claim to fame or anything. What we want to do is provide people like you and your listeners the information that we found, and either they can use it or not. It may not be what they're looking for, but that's our whole purpose, is just provide our findings.
Okay, so I'll give you an example of an area around my house,
Hmm.
okay, where Canada's largest mass murder happened there. Okay, where 52 people died in 1965. Is that a place, because of the time limit of being over 50 years, that you would take the time to investigate?
I've never been one for locations of death. I mean, to be, yeah, because I'm from the South and there's tons of battlefields and things like that. I've never investigated any of them. Now, have I driven through them and have felt that energy or whatnot? Yes, but actual investigation, no. I I'm not a huge fan of cemeteries, death scenes, all these different locations, uh, because you already have a preset assumption of what to expect. When you go into these locations, let's say like the location you're talking about, you automatically, because you know the history very well, you already could have a presumption of what to expect. And you're already, once again, contaminating that area. By contaminating the area, excuse me, I mean, you may miss information because of the perceptions that you already have.
Right. I get that. I appreciate that. One thing that we haven't had from you tonight yet is a good ghost story, a good story of your own communication. We got about 5 minutes to go here before we go to break at the bottom of the hour. I'd love a story for our audience, Matt.
Let's see. Well, let's go back to the German club. And uh, once again, we actually investigated there 2 nights, not just one. It was a couple of nights. And what happened is I'm going to go back to that girl giggling routine. And I went into the location, and what I was doing is I was filming where we had different tech equipment. It's not about the actual investigation. I'm just walking through going, okay, we have, I want to document so that everybody knew when they're reviewing evidence where everything's at. And as I'm doing it, I come back out and I pull the card from the camera and I was like, okay, here you go. Just store it for me. And the guy starts reviewing right away. And he pulls the headphones off and he goes, did you hear anything in there? And I'm like, no. And then that's when he let me know that there's a girl giggling. And it was so loud you can actually hear the echo effect in the room because it was just this big, large hall. Now let's step forward a little bit in the same location, and uh, we're we keep hearing this noise, and we're honestly just pointing the cameras, but we're not looking where the camera's pointing. We're like, okay, let's just pack it up and move on to the next room. Well, once we reviewed that, there was a lady standing right in front of us. Now, whether it was pareidolia or whatnot, I couldn't tell you, but the shape looked like there was a woman standing right in front of us in the dark. And of course, we were the only ones there. We debunked a bunch of different things, but these were the two outstanding ones that we could not explain away.
Now, when you were out trying to communicate,
Mhm.
are you trying to communicate with them, or are they trying to communicate with you?
I think it's a both. It's a two-way street. Anyway, a communication is a two-way street. If you're only communicating one way, then it's not really communication. Um, so I think it's a case. Well, I know it's a case. You have to try to get that communication across, whether or not the law, the physics, the different universes do not apply. You have to find that common ground of communication.
And what is that common ground?
Whatever's applicable at the time. Uh, Standalone pendulum. I'm not a huge, I am a tech person, but as far as that goes, I just look at that as a bunch of blinky lights. I want to understand the communication. So I'm not a fan of pendulums being held by hand before anybody asks that. You want to get that out there.
Oh no, watch out for them pendulums, man.
Yeah.
They are dangerous. We got about 2 minutes to go before we got to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Matt Lay is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Your favorite ghost or spirit that you have ever dealt with?
Mm-hmm.
Who was it? What was it?
I'll step back about 3 years, and we were doing an investigation of videos up on our Maduto YouTube channel, and that to me was the most impactful because when we investigated, because we actually took old documents, old manuscripts, and we conducted a ritual. Now, this wasn't a standard ritual. This was fully wired, loaded up to the gills. We wanted the circle was marked with copper wire for oscilloscope, everything. We caught languages that we didn't understand at the time. We got apparitions. We got all these different things. Plus, we got a measurement of an energy field. So that was a launch of what changed our point of view on how we were investigating. But that was by far my favorite because we had the Fae, we had so many different scenarios going on in one location that it was exhilarating. But now, once again, it's exhilarating, but now you have to ask the whys, what's, hows, all that information. You just can't walk away and go, that's a Fae. You have to start interviewing the locals.
I love it. I don't know who those locals are, but I mean, it just sounds so professionally done. Professionally done. When we come back from the break here, and we will get to your audience questions next on Spaced Out Radio, we're going to continue with the paranormal talk with Matt Lay for the next half an hour here on Spaced Out Radio. We're having a great time. We don't do a lot of paranormal, but when we do, we try and bring some of the best of them out to you. And Matt Lay from Regina, Saskatchewan is definitely one of the best out there when it comes to teaching all things paranormal and supernatural. You want to learn it the right way? You learn it from the Mudutu Effect. That's why we got Matt here. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Stay tuned. IDSOR. We'll be right back. Beauty.
Oh, it's so much fun.
It is, isn't it?
Yes.
Dave uses Dippity Doo hair gel, the cheapest hair gel he can find. But the reason why is their sports model is not only a UFO type thing, but it also is like a cement that will hold my hair perfectly for hours upon end. Thank you, Mike, for a second super chat, my man. Appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, what don't I let you talk about? Trying to get a little political there, you two. No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
How much time we got?
We got about 4 minutes, dude.
Oh,
if you
okay.
need to take a break.
I'll be back.
Yep. Let's see here. James in America. Living in America. Living in America. What part of America are you in? Are you in North America, South America, Central America? I will ask that. James in Germany before. You better. Son of a bitch. Damn fucking son of a. That's what happens when you don't score goals, Oilers. Oh. Javier, how you doing? I'm not in a good mood right now. Blue chicken, poulet de bleu. What's happening? Pay Parker. Thank you for joining us, Pay Parker. Yeah, 3-2 in overtime. Chairman Meow, how you doing? Good Oilers. Just do nothing but break my heart. Gonna make a grown man cry here again. I mean, it's so much fun when it happens to the Toronto Maple Leafs, but when it happens to your Oilers, this is why drinking beer became very important after hockey. Thank you, Louie. Thank you, Big Dog. Thank you, Grant. Thank you, Obi. Thank you, Deb. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Mike. The amazing super chats. I think I forgot one from Louie. I think I accidentally did. I'm going to go looking my way back here. I'm scrolling. I did. Thank you again, Louie. Here we go with the next half hour, everyone. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Final time tonight, we introduce our guest, Matt Lay from the Mudutu Effect in Regina, Saskatchewan. Matt, we always love it when you're here. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Doing good.
We is having fun tonight, aren't we?
Yes. Yes. I have to watch it. I may end up on a soapbox again.
If it happens, it happens. You know, that's what it's all about. That's why we got you here. You're our resident guru when it comes to all things paranormal and supernatural. Let's get to some audience questions here. Peter wants to know about ghost cats. Do they meow? Do cats talk on the other side?
You know, that's a extremely controversial one. I say controversial because some people, some religions believe that, you know, the animals don't have a spirit or a soul or whatever. So I can only give you my personal point of view. My wife and somebody else was using SB11, a ghost box, and they're at a location. It's an old hospital. Now, mind you, everybody kept saying that they kept seeing this black cat roaming around, but there's no cat in the building that we could find. Anyway, she's sitting there, and it's just, I don't know if you've listened to this thing for 8 hours straight. All you hear is that, you know, noise. And when you go to sleep, you still hear that noise because you've been listening to it for so long. But Alyson asked a question: is anyone here? Is anyone, you know, want to talk? And plain as day, a meow came through the ghost box. And even at that exact moment, she's like, I need to take this and get somebody else to hear this, because it could be a frequency squeak. It could be a wide variety of things, but it was plain as day, a meow. But at the same time, a few hours later, myself and someone else was in this room, and we could see this on camera. We could see this cat walking across the hallway, but there was, once again, no evidence that there was a cat there. So, personally, I would say yes, but once again, it's up to the individual biases that could be brought into an investigation, because some cultural beliefs would say that that's not possible.
Yeah, that's one of the big arguments out there. I know, like, for instance, my mom comes from a very strict Mennonite religion, and they don't believe in any type of spirits. They believe that animals are one and done, and that they're just here as companions and everything. Well, I think, I don't personally agree with that, because I've heard cat spirits too. I've seen my deceased dog come to me. And sitting right beside me. It's pretty intense, the the magic and the power that animals truly have.
Yeah, and so the question happens right there. You have to ask, is this legitimately the animal, or is this my desire so much to have that animal next to me? Am I manifesting that? That you got to ask those questions. Although to be, what happens is people want that comfort so much that they'll immediately say, this is my animal or this is my relative. So and immediately stop the questionings. But I would ask that question, at the time, was you missing him? That connection, because you have that connection with that animal. Are you manifesting that energy, that imprint? It's like we've heard our previous dog coming across the floor, but it's at that time we're missing the dog. So is our brains creating that imagery, that sound in our own heads to hear that, so that you have that comfort.
I get that. I totally get that. Let's go to Mike. Do you know if any dogman sightings or reports in your area? And let me expand on this for a little bit, because a lot of people who have encounters see other creatures as well, whether it's UFOs, aliens, dogman, Sasquatch, little people, you name it. Do you have that happening around you as well?
We do have a lot of situations with little people. Um, we've encountered it twice. But as far as the tales, there's a lot of those. Dogman sightings, I don't know of any. I haven't been told any. But this is something to throw a question out there. You, as a listener, make your own conclusion. The dogman sightings, the shadow apparitions, tall man, whatever the case may be, could it be a perception? Because way we see light and the way we see things visually, as I said before, are based on our physical universe. If this is something from another veil, another multi-dimension, or whatever the case may be, could our perceptions be distorted, that we're trying to create it in our own mind, like pareidolia does, where we try to create an image? Our brain tries to create an image that we immediately or can relate to. So always keep that in the back of your head. The imagery that you're seeing, or that you or do see, could it be just a perception thing based on our own physical universe and not actually how it's presenting itself?
Right. Okay, let's continue on. Let's go to Kira. How many of you, or how many ghosts have you seen?
you know,
Putting you on the spot there, big guy.
yeah. Ghost, I couldn't tell you. Because I always question whether or not it's a ghost or not. Because once again, I'm a firm believer in multidimensional. I'm a firm believer in different aspects of this physical world. To classify it as a ghost, no one's written their name on the wall and said, I'm Aunt Susie May, howdy, or anything like that for me. Apparitions, paranormal events where it looks like an apparition, a full body apparition. In all the years, probably maybe 5 or 6.
That would be a full body apparition?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I would say mine would be like 3.
It's usually pretty low for a full body apparition. In general. If somebody ever comes to you and say once a year or once every 6 months, throw out some red flags.
Well, let's get to another question here, if you don't mind. This one comes from Mike. What's your favorite part of being in Canada versus the U.S.?
Wow, I love that question. Uh, um, Mike, well, once again, I grew up in the South, and a lot of things in the South are you can't really express yourself quite openly because of a lot of prejudices and presumptions that are made. I'm being nice about this, and I'm just really going to being politically correct. But once I moved to Canada, I noticed I didn't have to cover up my tattoos. Nobody cared. Nobody cared about the beard. Nobody cared about anything other than what kind of person you are. Um,
Hold on a second here. I care about the beard.
yeah.
I care about the hair and beard.
But the thing was, is that I didn't have to at all in the States. And mind you, I was um, in the Air Force. I've been, with the combat, was combat comm, been all over the world, but I still was always reserved about what I could say or anything like that. Granted, in Canada, you still got somebody may talk about you behind your back, but no one's ever coming at you in a parking lot. And I'm using a real world scenario coming at you in a parking lot because they didn't agree with how you looked. So I'm actually loving it up here. I feel like I've actually got more opportunities to share information and to grow as an individual. So,
And you've had to get used to those harsh Canadian winters that don't end.
well, you know what? I just had this conversation. The winters down there, I had hurricanes, I had tornadoes, I had flooding, and I had critters that were extremely poisonous. And up here, I just have the -40, minus 60 wind chill weather, and occasional tornadoes. So I'm good.
It works.
Yeah.
It works. All right, let's move on here to another question for you. This one's from Dark Protocol. What should a new investigator pay the most attention to on their very first paranormal investigation?
As I said before, excuse me, your individual biases to start with. Make sure you're not bringing those in. It's difficult. It is not something that's super easy to do. The most thing you have to pay attention is the environment. Notice how the energy feels. You feel like somebody's staring at you from behind, good chance. Somebody's staring at you from behind. Go with your instincts. Also pay close attention to the pops, the knocks, all those different things because, well, around here with temperature swings, that can cause a lot of that. But pay attention to them for the repeats. You got to look at every small detail. You just can't immediately assume something's going to jump out and say, hey, welcome. I'm going to float around and, spook you a little bit. Every little tiny thing is important. I'll give you an example. A lot of people, some people use incense, some people don't. It doesn't really matter. Incense, when it's burning, is static dust. Okay, so now you have a tool that's floating around in the air. It's statically charged. It's either going to accumulate or be repelled by something. All those small, fine details of dust is important. We get caught up in orbs, and we've had this conversation before, Dave, and I'm not going to get on the soapbox, but we tend to focus on orbs, that one spot, but we don't look at the big picture. If you look at everything, even if it is dust, you'll actually start discovering patterns, how it's flowing, how the air is flowing, or maybe it's changing in directions of the air. That means the static charge. So all the small, little, tiny details, because it's not always going to be standing literally right in front of you.
Very true. And also, if I can add to that, if you don't mind,
Mhm.
paying attention to how you're feeling,
Yep.
paying attention to your mood swings, paying attention to whether or not you start to feel sick or
Mhm.
start to feel laughter for no reason. Really paying attention to your own senses is probably the most important.
Yeah, I usually get the laughter portion when I get out of the shower and walk by a mirror. It's just never a good. That's not paranormal, but it's usually what happens.
Mhm. Absolutely. Let's go to another question here. This one from Deb. Have you ever encountered a spirit that made you nauseated or dizzy?
No. Um, I've had it. Well, let me rephrase that. Not nauseated, but dizzy. Yes. But most of the cases that I've encountered where it was the combination, usually because of high EMF levels that were not paranormal. Because high EMF levels can cause dizziness and nausea, anxiety, all these different things. So that's why we do an initial sweep looking for artificial EMF levels. And what that means is from electrical panels, poor grounds in a house. I've actually had somebody say once we discovered that they had over 8,000 milligauss of EMF radiating through their house. So literally, oh, thank goodness it's not a ghost. You're in a microwave, you know. But high levels of EMF, whether natural, also natural levels of high levels of EMF, high levels of magnetic field, can cause those things. So usually when we hear that, that's the first thing we go and try to make sure that all those things can be removed out of the element.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. And I know as somebody who has been attacked by a spirit that the nauseousness and dizziness is very real.
Hmm.
And, once you can get cleansed by a shaman or through smudging or whatever, it's amazing how you get that paranormal hangover very, very quickly. Gotta love the paranormal hangover.
Oh, yes.
All right, let's go to CS here. She's asking, what about the situation where a mom and kids have moved into a haunted house and are scared and unhappy with the residential entities? Do you politely show the entities heaven or the door?
um, well, it depends on who was there first. Don't look at moving things onto the light or to heaven because that's a religious bias point of view. But as far as you can't coexist together, usually all you have to do is honestly put your foot down that this is your house. Now, I've seen one case, only one, where that didn't work. And they ended up moving because, yes, you can go and get somebody to come in. Usually they charge exuberant prices to do cleansing of a home. But usually what happens is things calm down and they come back a lot more aggressive. And I've seen that was in that one case where it got really aggressive because you're trying to kick them out of their house, basically. Majority of the cases, we have a lot of activity here, for example. And my wife has to put her foot down and say, hey, this is my space, my time, get out. And usually that no problem. Um, what usually happens is the scared and unhappy part is the fear of the unknown. And when you let that take over, it will just keep manifesting and keep manifesting. My recommendation, more than anybody, is to stand your ground because you can coexist. We do it on a daily basis. Um, but if it's feeling uncomfortable, whatnot, once again, also the uncomfortable aspect, I would highly recommend just checking the levels of the EMF, because they actually may not be creating the anxiety, the unhappy feeling. It could be the high levels of EMF and contamination. And if you are hypersensitive, that could actually be creating a lot of your situation. Now, I want to talk about one other case that's similar to this, if that's okay, David.
Sure.
It was a location. A lot of paranormal activity was going on. Paranormal teams have been coming in, people coming in to smudge and clean the house. But the team that came in that did the cleansing of the home, because this family was scared and they're very religious. So this group came in and prayed off of those religious fears. And they charged them, no exaggeration, $3,000 to come in and do a cleansing. Then they came in. This is here in Regina. Then they came in when they were told it didn't work. They said their autistic child needs to have an exorcism, and they can do it for $5,000.
Oh my goodness.
So you see where people prey on the scared and unhappy quite often. So what we did is they asked us, well, a friend of the family had asked us to come out and investigate. Do you know how much equipment we pulled out? None. It was a conversation. 2-hour conversation with the family. And then I suddenly, not to quote Gru, but light bulb, and I grabbed Zener cards, because they were talking about how the daughter was having this hard time at school, and the mother was having a difficult time because of work and all this other stuff. And I'm starting to piece this together. So I pulled out Zener cards. Now, for people that don't know, Zener cards were used for ESP testing. And this, yes, you have the case of the laws of probability of selecting the card, but they have like squiggly lines, stars, squares, whatever. So I pulled out a card and looked at them. I said, can you tell me what card I'm holding? They were both wrong. Pulled out another card. They were both wrong. Then I handed the deck to the daughter. I said, can you pull a card? And she pulled the card, and the mother got the card right away. Okay. Gave it to the mother. Daughter gets it right away. They were having so many personal problems. They weren't sitting around a table and discussing them out. And they had natural abilities that were actually causing their own environment with all these activities. So they were so interlinked and had natural abilities that they were manifesting these things out of frustration and anger and everything else. But because they were super religious, these groups were coming in and preying on them. Pardon the pun, but they were coming in and taking advantage of them. A 2-hour conversation, no more activity. They just sit down every day for 1 hour and get things off their chest, and there was zero activity after that.
Incredible. Yeah, don't ever pay paranormal people.
No.
Don't ever do that. Matt, we're going to have to unfortunately skip a few questions from our audience tonight, and I do apologize to our audience for that if you're in one of our chat rooms, but it is that time where we have to unfortunately say goodnight to Matt. Matt, do me a favor at 30 seconds here. Tell everybody where they can find more information on you and the Mudutu Effect.
Just go to Mudutu, MUDUTU.ca, and we have all of our classes, everything on there. Also on Facebook as well. And we always enjoy questions. Any question or challenge, that helps us also think and learn. Mudutu is Sumerian. It means knowledge. And the best way to gain knowledge is proper communication.
Absolutely, my friend. Thank you so much. Coming up next, we're going to head to the swamp. Then, from there, we are going to have Random Guy filling in for little Timmy Senor on the UFO Report. Spaced Out Radio happens right after this. Thank you, my man. Appreciate you again.
Oh, thank you. I miss you.
I know. I do have to figure out a way to get out there. I'm so swamped on time and everything, but I do have to seriously, and I'm going to try and drag Merle with me to get out there to. I wanted you to do some testing on me, like we had talked about.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've got a new gadget. I was talking to Merle about it, and well, I'm not developing it, but this new gadget is basically it detects any type of vibration shift. You see where I'm going with that?
Totally see where you're going with it. All right, buddy. I will chat with you soon, and
Yes.
we'll line something up.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Take care. Matt Lay, everybody. Thank you, Alyson. I'll be right back, everyone. right. Random guy. Our swamp dweller story is just under 4 minutes. So that way you will come in right after that. City Rider. Yeah, Timmy had a family matter he had to take care of, and so he couldn't make it tonight. But random guy is stepping on in. He's up to the plate. Don't worry, he never strikes out. He's usually a pretty good home run. Raven is having a kofte shish kebab later. That sounds good. Random Gee. That's right. Random Gee. Thank you tonight to our super chatters, Louie, Big Dog, Grant, Obi, Deb, Mike, ×2, Derek, Jeff, Louie again, and Raven. Here we go with hour 3.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Tally-8. Tally-8 is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is that time once again where we head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller takes us on another spooky journey.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. My family and I were excited to embark on our annual camping trip in Western Canada. We packed our gear and embarked on our journey, eager to explore the region's natural beauty. Little did we know this trip would be unlike any other we had ever experienced. As we traveled to the campsite, we were greeted by a park ranger who warned us about the legends of the Wendigo. I thought it was kind of strange, honestly, because, aren't those just legends? He explained that according to the indigenous lore, the Wendigo was an evil spirit that haunted the woods and preyed on humans. We honestly kind of laughed it off, thinking it was a local legend to scare tourists, and because he brought it up so forthright, we thought that's what he was trying to do. But as the night fell, we began to feel that sense of unease you hear about in many of these stories. And in tradition, the air genuinely grew colder. The wind howled through the trees, and we heard strange noises in the distance. Our campfire seemed to flicker and dance unusually, like it was fighting to stay alive. We dismissed it as our imagination, thinking it was just the excitement of camping in a new location, and obviously the stories from the park ranger creeping up on us. The next day, we went hiking to explore the surrounding wilderness. The scenery was breathtaking, with majestic mountains and crystal clear lakes all around. But as we ventured deeper into the woods, we noticed the trees seemed to be twisted and gnarled, almost as if they were alive and watching us. Out of nowhere, and very suddenly, we heard a blood-curdling scream in the distance. It almost sounded like a human cry at first, but it was unlike anything we had ever heard before. We rushed towards the sound, our hearts pounding with fear. We thought that maybe somebody was hurt, and we did see a figure in the distance as we came upon the scream's source. It almost looked like a person, but it was wrong. It was tall and skeletal, with razor-sharp claws and glowing eyes. It was exactly what the park ranger told us. It was a Wendigo. We tried to run, but this thing was already on us. This Wendigo, with its icy breath freezing our bones, it snarled and roared. Its claws was trying to tear at us. We screamed, and we fought back with our lives. We ran as fast as we could, trying to get out of there. We felt trapped. We felt like we were helpless and terrified, that this would be our last days on Earth. We knew we had to leave the woods before this Wendigo got to us and killed us. We started sprinting, throwing down anything that we could, our backpacks, anything in our pockets, any rocks or twigs that happened to be at arm's length. We were just doing whatever we could. We started zigzagging. We even started doing different maneuvers that we had learned in Boy Scouts. After what felt like many, many hours, but was more than likely only about an hour, we got out into civilization again. We got out of the wilderness, desperate to find any sign of civilization. And when we first saw a car, we flagged them down immediately, got a ride to a small town, and we told everybody our story. But nobody believed it, and why would they? Once we finally got out of there and got back home in the safety of our house, we began talking to each other. We still have no idea if this was actually real or not. Maybe we were just so freaked out, but this felt so real. It felt so terrifying, and I'll never forget this. I don't know how I will. There's something that lurks in the Western Canadian wilderness, and I'm telling everybody listening to the Swamp Dweller podcast, please keep your head on a swivel out there. Some things are not just legend.
That's why we love the Swamp Dweller visiting Western Canada for the Wendigo. Yeah, he's out there somewhere, isn't he? And that's what we love about Swamp Dweller, taking us on a journey each and every Monday through Friday night to kick off hour number 3. If you love his stories and you want more, head on over to his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads, and get more for free. Just hit subscribe. From the swamp to the stars, it is time for us to bring in Random Guy filling in for Little Timmy Senor on the UFO Report.
Nobody's gonna know.
They're gonna know.
Yeah, Random Guy filling in for Tim Senor tonight on the UFO Report because Tim had a family emergency that he had to deal with. So we wish him and his family well. It's not too bad, but, nothing too harsh. But nonetheless, sometimes you got to be there for family. How you doing, RG?
Doing pretty good. I'd like to echo my sentiments to Tim and his family. I hope they're okay tonight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We know they're going to be. We know.
Yes. It's fine. It's
Absolutely.
Fine. What are we going to journey on today, this evening?
We're going to journey on a couple of different notions here. We're going to go back a couple of days to the U.S. Congressional hearings again on UFOs, which was a giant burger full of nothing. And the idea that there are certain, if you nitpick it a little bit, there is some real, I would say, I don't want to use the word catastrophic because I think that's too blatantly emotional, but there was some real tough words said by Arrow director Sean Kirkpatrick, especially regarding the public. And I ended up doing our Dave 101 on this, that basically saying, if you're an experiencer or you've had an experience, but you're outside of the military, you're outside of being a pilot or a professional sky watcher that's hired by the government, like NASA or SETI or anything, that realistically, your information does not matter. And to me, as someone who has dealt with a lot of people on this show, from professional researchers to those who've had the ultimate experience of UFOs or extraterrestrial contact, I took it as a real slap in the face from the scientific community to the public, basically shoving the public out of the way and saying, you're not wanted around here. You're that ugly stepchild that nobody wants to love. You know what I'm saying? And I know this is tough for you because you don't classify yourself as an experiencer, even though you do have aliens. Okay? And you are being woken up by weird doorbell sounding things in the middle of the night.
Definitely.
But I want to talk about this because I think this is important that we delve into this.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, so I know exactly what you're talking about, what you're referring to. We had the gentleman from MUFON on, what was it, last night, right? And I was actually expecting to hear more from him about that because MUFON is more of the in-person reporting type agency, right? So the question I have right out the gate is this database that MUFON has. I've heard bits and pieces about how they rate or collate their data for these reports, heard different places about how it's stored, but I am curious to know if it's for sale. And if it is, if whether it's Enigma, the DoD insert company name or entity here, if it's for sale, maybe they feel they'll just take the back end of the human experience rather than firsthand accounts. Is that a possibility?
Well, it could be, but I mean, anybody can get the MUFON reports.
Okay.
Anybody can, as long as you join the membership, you pay your $5-10 a month or whatever it is, you do get access. Now, you don't get access to all the files. That would be something that would be a little bit, different. If, like for instance, when Robert Bigelow, who from your days in Nevada, are very, well, not personally, but know the name, right? When he bought into MUFON in 2007, he created the STAR team and he created a number of, put in a bunch of money for a few months regarding trying to get more of reactionary people going to try and create a team that can be on scene within 24 hours of an event. And unfortunately, that didn't work. And nobody really knows how much data he was actually given to except the people involved. So it's not like there isn't precedent that it hasn't happened before. But I mean, MUFON, I think that's an entirely different conversation that I think we could get into, because my ideal MUFON would be one of the people. We don't need more government lobbying. We don't need more, in my opinion, government focus. And a group like MUFON, who is relying on public accounts and those anecdotal stories in order to try and gain evidence to the phenomena, needs to be there for the people. But the board of directors seems a little bit off base from what its actual boots on ground people are doing.
Now, do you think that's just because, and I'm playing devil's advocate because I get what you're saying and I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but to play devil's advocate, maybe they feel because he went through his 5-step scientific process and now they have separate teams that cross-check each other and all this stuff. If they were able to get a hold of that data, maybe they just feel, again, they don't necessarily need to bring in the face of these encounters. Maybe they want more of a data-driven result. And as we were discussing the other day, I think there's definitely a cutoff and point in time. I'm guessing it's around 96. Don't hold me to that exact date, but where they're going to want to separate, hey, well, this is where we're going to talk about stuff post this date and not pre this date, because what they'll say is they don't have enough data. And then you would probably argue, well, hey, we got 20 people that know the data. Bring their butts out there and let them tell you. And I feel like that part of the data will be disregarded. I think only the more modern stuff is going to make it into this archive and evaluation as we go forward.
But the idea that the government and the military scientists who are pushing the public out of the UFO picture, as was stated by Sean Kirkpatrick, has been stated by numerous scientists, including on this show. How do you react as a former member of the military, now a member of the civilian society and I know you have a lot of friends still active. How do you react when you hear that something that is important to a lot of people, maybe a small minority in the United States, that they are being ignored and scuttled away? I mean, shouldn't things be more of a team effort, or is that too utopic?
I mean, if you look at almost any campaign of any minority group that has a fringe, what they would consider a fringe interest, the only ones that seem to get attention are the ones that, the squeaky wheel gets the lube. And unfortunately, ufology and people who study this stuff and are passionate about it, in my experience, they don't seem to have a voice, or a coordinated voice at least. They definitely have enough people. There's enough people, just as crazy as UFO Twitter is. There's enough people out there that could collectively force feed their elected officials to pay attention to this. The problem is you have apathy. You have people that are lazy. They just want to complain and post about it, but they don't actually want to make a phone call or do something like that. So it does feel like, unfortunately, that the voices are not being heard because of the fact that they're just not projecting it beyond a tweet. That's the unfortunate reality.
I could see that. I can totally see that. But how does this affect the public in general, even the media coverage of this subject, when Sean Kirkpatrick sits up there and basically says, we have nothing to prove that extraterrestrials or anything extraterrestrial or ufological is actually happening within Earth's atmosphere? That tells me a couple of things, but I want to get your opinion on that first.
I think it's just as simple as the terminology UAP versus UFO. I think there's a subtext here hinting that a lot of this stuff is either our secret show stuff that we're not going to talk about ever under any circumstance. Clearly, they shouldn't. And that some of it may be our adversaries' assets. And I think until proven otherwise, they're going to go with that theory, even though, he's talked about having a think tank of engineers and physicists over here on this side, and then we got government intel on this side. Even amongst that group, the one thing is the intel people may know some of our assets, and they are going to intentionally omit including those, which I agree they should. Unfortunately, that's going to keep a lot of reports unsolved. And so I think there is that kind of will to want all of these to say either, hey guys, it's our stuff, or hey, it's our bad guy stuff and we haven't figured it out yet, so we're not going to really talk about it until we get more information about it, because we don't want them to know what we do know, and we might have human assets on the ground trying to infiltrate, getting the data on those incursions of technology.
Oh, I could totally see that. I could totally see where you're coming from regarding that. I mean, there has to be a sense of national security in regards to everything that the military does, because that's why they're there. However, when it comes to something like aliens or UFOs, I'm not talking UAP, I'm talking
Right.
UFOs. What would be the big secret about that? What would be national security about confirmation of another species visiting our planet?
I mean, we've had this talk 400, 500 times, and it really is just as simple as I think it's mostly a fear of the unknown, not knowing how people would react. I know there's polls to the contrary, but there's still a firm belief, that religious people might lose their minds a little bit, or that people that are only morally, might be morally bankrupt if it were not for fear of a higher power and or laws. And if they feel like there's an invasion going on, you see what's going on in certain cities right now with different just legal policies changing. Imagine if people really believe that there was going to be some faction of the population that's going to believe this is like ushering in end times or something of that nature. And I think they're genuinely fearful of that. I also don't think they would say a single word about anything until they understood everything, because they want to be 2 steps ahead of how to control the public. And when I say control, we're not talking about, getting the camp control, but let's face it, you got to be able to control people's reactions so they're not rioting, looting, hoarding stuff, stuff like that.
Okay, I want to ask you, as we get about just under 5 minutes to go here before we go to break here at the bottom of the hour, random guy filling in for Tim Senor tonight on the UFO Report. I do want to ask you, because you did agree with what I said on the roundtable that we did the night of the hearings on our special, but I want you to get into more detail about it if you don't mind, because one thing that I've learned through this process, and I am very much in the minority in the UFO community regarding this, is over the last few months, Lou Elizondo has made comments Scientists like Rich Hoffman has made comments. Sean Kirkpatrick's made comments, really to the point that the acronym UAP to me really sounds like it's man-made objects that they're looking for, the technology that is going to create these man-made, unidentified aerial or anomalous phenomena, whichever way you want to go. Yet UFOs still seems to be the outer space woo, the alien woo that I love and adore so much. Do you still see a difference between the two?
Yeah, I see the difference, and I get where you're coming from. I don't think the assumption is that all UAP is human technology. I think they kind of lumped all of those things. So, solar events, geological events, I believe all of that falls under UAP versus UFO also, because there are northern lights, there's weird atmospheric stuff. And I know that's only a tiny percentage of these cases, but that has to play into it. And it has to play into part of the definition for that. So I do understand that. I think ultimately what it comes down to is that when they're talking about searching for UAPs, they're in a no-win situation, right? Because clearly at some level, maybe even at Lou's level, I don't know the guy or his clearance, but he might even know stuff. And he probably may have found out stuff too late and went, oh crap. Now, how do I still continue to bring disclosure that I believe in without screwing over, our assets? And it's kind of a no-win situation because now he's already I'm just using an example. I'm not saying this is Lou. I'm not accusing of anything. I'm just saying as an example, him or any other whistleblower or someone that comes out, right? They're in that no-win situation because it's okay, great. You told us there's something going on. Now, what is it? And they start getting into it. And then somebody might have whispered in their ear, hey, dude, that's not what you thought it was. And he goes, oh, crap. Now what do I do? It's a possibility. And I think they've shuffled a good portion of the UAP subject to house that. And they're trying to figure out how do we navigate this. I wouldn't want to be in that situation. That's why I keep my mouth shut.
Well, no, and I understand that. But from a public perception, okay, and I'm no scientist. I'm nowhere close to being a scientist. I'm just a guy who likes to read between the lines and see what people are telling me. To me, I don't, and maybe I'm wrong, or maybe it's just the way I'm looking at it through my UFO woo glasses. To me, it just sounds a little bit more obvious that they are looking for more man-made technology that they may not know of, rather than UFOs.
Yeah. I mean, that's realistic. You got to think, you can't think that from what my experience is like, there's not a whole lot of innovation with our adversaries. They tend to take some form of our stuff that they stole, try to rebuild their own version of it. But it's not without the realm of possibility that they came up with something that was either better or different than what we got. And they might be testing it out. So yeah, they should be looking for that stuff. I don't think they should rule out the UFO side of the house, obviously, and encounters and all that stuff. But there has to be, like within their studies in these areas and the subjects and the way they rate, and he went at great length through how they sort all that stuff, there needs to be a conscious effort to say, hey, this is something we believe to be either a military/government entity. This is something we believe to be unexplainable. Doesn't have to be, you don't have to call it ET, but just say truly unexplainable and unlikely to be government or state owned.
Well, I believe out of the 650 cases of UAP study, that I believe there was around 133 that they couldn't explain or something along those lines. And that's
1 in 4. That's 1 in 4.
And that is by military standards, not public standards or anything like that. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting to see how this is going to play out. Random guy, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. And when we return, we're going to continue to break down what's happening in the UFO world right now with our main man, Random Guy, filling in for Tim Senor tonight on the UFO Report. Random Guy, if you saw him on camera, you'd know his hair is high and tight. Looking good, my man. Looking good. Yes, ladies, he's taken. Spaced Out Radio and the UFO Report coming up for the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio right after this. Stay tuned. All right, we're clear.
Cool.
Look at Big Bad Obi. Killing it, Rando. Killing it.
Yeah, just so you guys know in the chat, I had no idea what we're even going to talk about. Dave's like, I'm just going to ask you questions and wing it. I'm like, I got you. I got you, Timmy. Timmy.
Christine says your hair is high and tight, just like your tits.
Very firm.
Mm-hmm. Those are bought and paid for on Rando right there. Mm-hmm.
I can do titty dance.
Oh, you're so cute. You're so cute. Hey, badass Billy Gunn, how you doing? He'll come off the top rope for you. Knight Rider, how you doing, man? Rob G from the Social Dig. Good to see you, my man.
I like me some Rob.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He's a good dude. He needs to join us in Vegas.
He should. You rolling out? You rolling through, Rob?
Yep. Just show up, man. Holy cow, you're pounding the water. What is it, 80 degrees there?
83.
Oh, must be nice. What is it here?
We'll be in the 90s next week, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Let's see.
This one I start spending time at the beach instead of Vegas.
I am at 33 degrees. Hi, Dirt Road. Mm-hmm. That old RG with that wrench there. Chat.
I told everybody, I'm not a moderator, you guys. I only have a wrench so you don't delete me. Because you'd probably kick me out every 5 minutes if I didn't have a wrench.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, it is that time of the night where we say hello to all the alphabet agencies and agents tuning us on in tonight on the mighty SOR, throwing the tin foil on. I love it. And we say, hello, how are you? Please give me a call sometime. You already have the number. I know you do. I don't have to give it to you. Remember, Old Davy can be bought. Old Davy can be bought.
Why am I orange? It's my complexion. Plus this light. Actually, I got these crappy. I didn't switch these ones to the fluorescence yet. So it's literally the OG yellowish orange dining room light. That's why you see the little artifacts behind me as well.
Hi, Bombshell Bomber. And part two. You know what I had for dinner tonight? Watermelon. Watermelon. I pigged out on watermelon for dinner.
So you had 0 calories basically, because watermelon's one of those negative net calorie foods.
Yeah, I know.
It's like eating celery.
Yeah, I pigged out on watermelon tonight for dinner.
Nice.
Yeah.
You and my kids would get along well.
I love a good watermelon, dude. Love a good watermelon. All right. And then I have water.
That's because I drank too much earlier today, so just hydrating for bedtime. That's the reality. Random ghee is too old to be dehydrated these days.
Good old random ghee. That's the French version.
Mid-40s have caught up to me. Ran me over.
Random ghee. The random ghee. Well, let's see. Translate English to French. What would we be here? Random guy. Type au hasard. Oh yeah, that's right there. That's right. Right there.
Bro.
Oh, there's an inside joke there. Oh my goodness.
It's a great segue to remind you to come out May 19th for the SOR party in Las Vegas.
Exactly.
We'll have right. Dave Scott hosting Spaced Out Titties.
Random guy showing his boobies for love. Showing his boobies for love for the Spaced Out Radio fan party. That's right. Yep. Oh, Thomas, you just made my night with that, buddy. Thank you.
I got great nipples, though. I'm just going to say.
Thomas from Disclosure Tonight, Raven, Louis ×2, Mike ×2, Jeff, Derek, and Deb, Obi Flat, and Grant Big Dog for the super chats tonight. Love it, everybody. Here we go with the final half hour. Around a third, we're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. Really do appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the UFO report. Skipping time tonight is Tim Senor. He had a family emergency to deal with, so filling in is our resident random guy coming on in here. RG, good to have you back with us.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here. Do my part.
So I got to ask you, my man, how's them aliens? Be honest. How's them aliens?
Aliens have been it's been an adventure so far because I don't believe in it. Still going with the dream episode, but the follow-up stuff was interesting because I've had like symptoms of aliens for the last week or so. And what's interesting is the reason I know they're symptoms is because it's little tiny things that I've heard over different times between you, different guests, Nicole, whoever I've spoken to about this stuff. And it's like each little tiny thing that a different person told me, I'm pretty sure I'm either turning into a schizophrenic or something weird is happening because it's always around my sleep. So as long as it's around my sleep and I'm not actually hallucinating during the daytime, I'm just going to pretend it's not happening. But it's the stuff related to me waking up and going to sleep is just, it's pretty wild, actually.
Mm-hmm. Aren't those tones impressive? So now that you're kind of getting into the old idea that there is some woo happening out there, are you starting to believe in the woo?
The woo in itself, without being defined, is definitely a real phenomenon. That is definitely, as I'm learning in different, it's not just as it pertains to the study of UFOs or these other various paranormal activities. I believe the woo channel is like, it's like watching Avatar in that big tree. Like there's some kind of universal stream of whatever this magic fairy dust is, and it's afflicting me in various ways. So I do believe it's there. I just don't have a definition for it yet, and don't think it pertains to just straight up experiences the way I thought it did.
Okay, so as a guy who comes in completely skeptical, who's got aliens but denies it, okay, and now having serious dreams of high strangeness.
Yes.
As you are slowly starting to open up to this type of world that you never really knew existed until about a year ago, when a mutual buddy said, "Hey, I got this weirdo in Vegas hanging on out," and that's when we met. But I mean, you know, by the way, he better come back. I got to get a hold of him soon. Make sure he's got some time off. But
he's been running some missions. He'll be around. I'll drag him out.
Good. We got to drag him out. We totally have to drag him out. But the point that I'm getting at is this: when you then look at and you hear the stories, because you tune in almost every night, you hear the stories of everyday people who are experiencing extraordinary measures that are right out of a comic book or you know, a Doctor Who type of TV show. And then you see what could be considered a cover-up happening from the Aero Department or the Department of Defense. How does a person like you from the outside looking in blend it all together to try and figure out what's going on?
You can't. You just have to. It's one of those things. It's like you can't stop certain, you can't stop gun violence in certain places, because you're not directly there to influence it. It's unfortunately, it's kind of the same thing. Like it's one of those things. It's such a big and broad subject, and there's so many moving parts, and there's people with power, and then there's the public. And as we know, the public elects the people in power, but they don't elect them in power usually based on how they handle ufology or UAP. They put these people in the office for other reasons, right? Economics or whatever, social policies. So you don't really know what you're going to get until these committees form. And unfortunately, the reality is, like I said, here's national security, right? Here's the Congress and committees and hearings and disclosure. And here's the people. And that's kind of the hierarchy of how it's going to go. And the people in the middle, I think some of them are a buffer, or whether it's disinformation, misinformation, and or they're just not told everything. But it's like a buffer from the one that I care about, which is national security. And I don't want them talking about that. What it's going to take, and I've stated this on the show before, is the public forming their own thing, which I thought was MUFON anyways. So maybe I'm being critical of MUFON. I don't know if that's fair or not. Probably not. But there needs to be a public, organized, funded, outside of the reach of government or corporation with complete transparency that gets moved to the Congress, to these committees. So all that information should go to freaking MUFON first. If that's who we decide we trust, if that's the people, give it to MUFON first, and have MUFON give it to Enigma and this guy and that company afterwards. Because then at least we're getting the pure data. Until you do that, insert conspiracy theory here forever, indefinitely.
What is too much data? Or what is pure data?
Pure data, in my mind, is just, we're talking about stuff that's measurable, repeatable, right? Something that you can compare and contrast against, that another professional would be in a similar field would make the same conclusion. So you take a UFO report, I'm sure, and again, I don't know anything about this, but I mean, just as somebody with a brain that does a lot of reports in the past on military stuff, it's like location, time, meteorology, what's going on, time of the year is it, what were the conditions surrounding it, who's reporting it, what was their mental condition, do they take any drugs, were they in a vehicle, were they moving, were they stationary, were they looking for a medium like a window, right? Like I can go on and on with these things. The luminosity of the light, velocity, direction of travel, did it disappear, was it visual range, was there environmental effects, did animals, so all of this stuff needs to be given a numerical data value. Every single thing I just said, and probably 100 more that I didn't. That needs to go into those databases. And if you get too much data, and it's only being cherry picked, then you're not going to get a pure answer. So that's why I think, in addition to the public being the ones that need to spearhead this, the advent of this really good AI that we're seeing right now can probably be used to build a script at little or no cost very soon, in very short order, to organize these databases with those numerical values applied.
And with the numerical value supplied, would you be looking for patterns in those numbers? Would
Absolutely.
you be okay, so for those of us who don't understand the mathematics behind it all, what would we be looking for?
Well, to put it simply, I mean, I don't know what the numerical value would be because I'm not a UFO study guy. That's not what I do. But again, putting it in the perspective of the military or of a government study, we take, the clear ones, altitudes and velocities. Just using altitudes and velocities, we know the altitude and velocity of every moving aircraft on the planet, or thereabouts. So you can kind of subcategorize right then and there one aspect that's a major aspect. Was it up in the air? Was there a stimulus? There's certain ones that have a heavier weight than the other ones. Like when I talked about, the mental state of the reporting party, that's something that needs to go in, but that's not as important as if there was multiple people that witnessed it, right? You still want to log that data, but it's not as important as altitude, velocity, luminosity, because we can rule a lot of things in or out with that. And also the color spectrum. Colors matter, right? Because if it's moving toward you, away from you, fast, time of day, weather, all that stuff matters.
Do you think the UFO phenomena, with what you heard from Kirkpatrick and everything kind of leading up to it, do you think we're getting ready to have this entire topic try to be swept back under the rug again? I mean, look, the only media outlet really covering this was Fox News. CNN didn't touch it. MSNBC didn't touch it. The major newspapers didn't touch it. I mean, nobody seems to care on a journalistic front that this is happening. But we also see that it seems like Kirkpatrick, with the way he dealt with it, was really trying to get this back under the military carpet. You know, that he's tired of talking about this in public. Doesn't want to talk about it in public. Doesn't want this to be a public topic at all.
Yeah, well, the more you streamline things under DoD, you can fund it, right? And you can appoint people to it. And the other thing is, just because you reappoint something to the DoD or the government, it doesn't mean that you can't still contract it out, right? You can still create special SCI contracts for a specific mission that's very in-house, that's overseen, but as a way to keep that one little barrier, a little insulation from that particular project back to the chain of command that would be accountable to Congress.
Okay. Or is it a matter of trying to get this out of public hands so FOIA requests would be null and void?
Same thing, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Same thing as reporting to Congress. They're accountable. The military is accountable. They got to explain where the money goes. They got to explain what the mission is. And you can say national security, sure, we do it all the time about certain things, but you can't just blanketly say, yeah, we're not talking about UFOs because national security. That's not going to hack it. You got to be way more specific.
Do you think these latest set of hearings were the beginning of the end for any potential disclosure?
No, I think that started with the hearings we had last year, to be honest with you. And I don't mean to laugh, but it's like this whole thing has been designed since the beginning to feign transparency, to say, look, we went all out with this. We exhausted all avenues. We had congressional hearings. We utilized the scientific method. We called in the directors of all these research places, of all these, OSI places. We got depositions from people in the field, Navy fighter pilots, and our conclusion was most of it, not anything to worry about. Some of it, don't worry about it. We think it's probably the bad guys, but we're on it. And the rest, it doesn't really matter. Nothing happened. We couldn't figure it out. Sorry. And I think that's what you're going to end up with. It might take another year, but that's what we're going to be back around. Yes, I'm a pessimist, but.
So in other words, get this back out of the closet so we could shut up about it, move on to other things that we want to do with operations, whether they're upfront or clandestine.
You said it, not me.
I'm allowed to say it. You're not. That's the difference. Okay, well that's no fun. That's no fun at all. Why do you think there is this? I don't want to use the word hatred because I don't think that's the right term. Why do you think there is this constant belittling of the UFO field and the phenomena if we know they're studying it?
Because if you guys, I shouldn't say you guys, I'm only saying that because you're an experiencer. So I mean that UFO experiencer when I say you guys in this application. When you guys say, hey, I got this thing that's going on, and you are a true experiencer, you have some evidence, but most of it is just your experience, right? That is your evidence. Maybe a family, a loved one, friend, whatever, also experienced it. The government cannot reproduce your experiences. And they don't have, with all the sensors, satellites, all the technology we have, there's still nothing that can replace a human experience when it's something, especially I would imagine, something paranormal. You see ghost hunters, you see UFO hunters, their Pelican cases full of equipment, and it either malfunctions half the time or something goes. There's some phenomenon that just have to be experienced as a human. And as long as that human is mentally competent and not somebody that's living in a basement, then that story should be told and it should be counted. The biggest fear of big government side is that the power would reside for the narrative. I don't think it's so much that people would find out if aliens are real or not real. I think it's more about controlling narratives, whether it's a sickness, whether it's an economical thing, controlling the narrative is massive. And so if you got a bunch of public people that are allowed to speak freely and there's no control of the narrative, and the consensus of the public is this is real, this is happening, we demand accountability, we don't care, we don't need you to study anymore, take action, here's the data. If you had too many people being too loud about that, they would have to do something. And then they don't no longer control the narrative and they have to work for the people again. Government doesn't like that. They're like, hey, you guys pay us to keep you safe, just trust you. Trust us, we got you, we'll keep you safe. Don't ask too many questions. That's what I think.
So it's a matter of, let me go right back to the woo here. So you'll have to take your khaki pants off for a second. Okay. But let's just say aliens arrived. They showed up. What happens then? I know it's hypothetical, but what happens?
There's so many things that it would depend on the threat assessment. Are they violent? Are they radioactive? Are they emitting RF? Is there, there's so many variables from the military side.
Let's say they land a craft at Yankee Stadium in New York or in Central Park or somewhere in LA.
A single craft.
Single craft.
Okay. Not an invasion.
No.
Okay.
What happens?
Life will never be the same. Round-the-clock news coverage. Twitter is going to lose its mind. Government will set up a perimeter with the military. Assuming, under this scenario, we're assuming that there has been no indication, no contact. They have no idea. It just showed up out of left field, so to speak. Then they would have nest teams on standby. They'd have every possibility ready. They'd evacuated the National Guard. And this stuff would go on for as long as they could afford to let it go on before they even attempted to communicate, because communicating the wrong way could be taken as a hostile action if they don't have people cleared out and defense set up. Now, what happens to us as a society, your guess is as good as mine. It becomes a theological debate rather than a hypothetical debate, right? It comes down to, what do you personally believe this means to you? Does this confirm your personal beliefs? Does it make you reconsider what the truth might actually be? Or do you just put your head in the ground and hope it goes away because it's too overwhelming for your reality?
That's deep woo right there, random guy. deep woo. We got just under 4 minutes to go here in tonight's show with the UFO Report. Random guy filling in for little Timmy Senor tonight. What's your thoughts on whistleblowers?
It's kind of a case-by-case basis for me personally. I'm a super patriot, so I'm old school. I believe in keep your mouth shut. Now, there's been times where it's like public's rights are being infringed or people are being murdered or, what have you. If there's something extreme, then it's hard not to be like, hey, that has to come out. But I think for the most part, if it's not going to have an immediate impact on the pursuit of happiness and individual rights, that the greater good does deserve some secrets. And that's just maybe me being a corporate guy for so long. But I truly believe that up until the point where you're lying to people, hurting people, or withholding information that could potentially, like I said, if there's aliens out there, that's a theological thing. I feel like that rises to the level of disclosure being mandatory, me personally. Some disagree.
What would cross the line for you in the UFO side?
The UFO, it's hard to say because, like I said, my personal opinion is they know there's stuff out there, but they don't know exactly enough to act on it. I don't think they've caught anything, despite stories. It's just my opinion, right? I'm just going with my life experience. Everybody's entitled to one, right? Until you can show me the flying saucer or whatever, I'm open to changing my mind. But in my opinion, they don't actually physically possess anything. I think they have footage. I think they have indications, instruments. I think they have all that stuff. And maybe at one time there was something or a couple of things. I don't think currently there's anything tangible as an asset that can be evaluated. So for me, the UFO stuff is just it's like a meta argument. We're talking about what ifs, hypotheticals, right? Crossing the line would be UFOs are being tracked. They've been tracked for a long time, and they're a threat to mankind. Yeah, that's a dereliction of duty as elected officials, as members of the military. We all take an oath, So that would be a dereliction of duty. If they know there's a threat and they're not disclosing that threat because they just don't know how to deal with it, that's unacceptable. But other than that, if they just don't know and they're tracking stuff, again, I side with the side of national security. It's just the way I'm built.
And some good khaki pants you got on for that answer. Okay, but final question regarding whistleblowers before we got to wrap things up. Those who are coming out about their UFO instances that they have allegedly had while under duty, do you agree that their names should remain behind the scenes? Their names shouldn't be published?
Yeah, 100%. Because I think this came up the other day with Science Bob panel that we were on. People have families, people have lives. And unfortunately, we live in a world now where a man or woman, or whatever they claim they are, a person can no longer just come out and make a claim, right? They got to come out, you got to prove your claim, which I haven't seen a whole lot of proving going on. I've seen a whole lot of trust me, bro. But regardless of that, some people will believe, some people won't believe. There's crazies everywhere. Every polar sides of everything, whether it's ufology, religion, politics, economics, there's people that are crazy. I think people should have the right, if they're trying to help for the greater good and give a deposition of information, I feel they should have the right of anonymity because of the fact that there's crazy people. They will threaten them. They will threaten their family. Especially you get into the alien stuff and they start thinking there's some kind of reptilian dragon lord that's here to, whatever, mentally unstable person. Look, crazy people shoot people, or do bad things to people.
And Random Guy, thank you so much for filling in for little Timmy Senor tonight. We really do appreciate it. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright the Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, make a mistake. We're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take Random Guy home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. Soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. What do you say there, RG?
I don't know. I'll just say a couple things. When I was talking in there, guys, and I said corporation and corporate, that's an inside joke, because a lot of people that are in the new kindler, gentler military or have been around it, or even in various branches of the government, we always joke that it's being run like a corporation now and not like a government. So that's just that was a slip of a conversation I normally have with people in the know. That's what the corporation preference is.
Well, aren't you special? Aren't you special, old RG? Just shows your age.
My age.
Fucker, that's what you are.
Mm.
Getting up there, RG.
I'm already scared. It's like next stop is 50.
I know. That's next month for me.
God, man, can't imagine being that old.
Me either.
It's just a couple of years. Goes fast, man. I remember being 22 years old, being in the military. It's crazy.
I know. Kimberly Carney, welcome to SOR chat. She says, I'm human and I prefer talking TP, as in toilet paper. All right.
I'm just checking to see if there's any questions. I don't think so. I think I thoroughly confused everybody. Mission accomplished.
Very nice. Very nice. We appreciate
Take off the foundation. You're funny, Deb. See, the joke's on you. When I get embarrassed, I actually turn purple.
Yeah,
I start red and I turn purple.
Do you get that? Do you ever get embarrassed? Come on.
Yeah. Not often, but occasionally. It's usually my kids. We'll be at the store and they'll say something ridiculous that draws attention. Like the other day, where my son saw another kid from his school. I'm literally pushing the cart and trying to get through it and grab turkey or whatever the heck we're buying at the store. My son goes, "Hey!" And I see this kid turn around. They have a school uniform because they go to an academy. This kid turns around with his dad, and my son goes, "I told you my dad's bigger than your dad." Me and the other dad looked at each other and started cracking up. It was the most 5-year-old thing you could ever see happen unscripted. It was hilarious. So yeah, I was a little embarrassed from that, but not often.
I embarrass my son all the time when he's about to get on the bus in the morning, and I'll stand up on the hill and he's down there, and I'll yell at him and his buddies. I'll be, "Don't forget to fart in school today." Fart hard, boys.
You don't have to tell them that. It's going to happen anyways. Trying to sneak them out after lunch. So you get down in the seat really low.
Oh yeah. Well, you know that, and I know that, but you gotta rub it in every now and again, right?
What? It was the desk. It was the desk.
Watching my boy, because I'll ask him point blank. I'm like, "Hey man, do you got a girlfriend?" And he clams right up, and he is like, "I don't like girls, Dad." I'll be like, "Yeah, you do." And I'm like, "Who's your girlfriend? Which one you like?" "Dad, enough." "Dad, enough." "Okay." "Do you ever?" Then I'll say to him, "Okay, fine. Do you ever walk up to any of those cute girls and accidentally rip one?"
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
You're setting them up for success, aren't you? They're super debonair.
Shut up. Right? Like,
my son's 5 and he came home and his sister dived him out. She's like, "He has a girlfriend. He has a girlfriend." He goes, "No, I have 2 girlfriends." I was like, right on. 5-year-old Pippin. He's better looking than me, thank God. He's got a chance.
My son's the same way. Yeah, my son, he's a good looking kid. All right. What else do we got? What else you want to talk about, random guy?
I got one for you. We are mere hours away from the CERN LHC being activated. The full pathway goes live tomorrow for the first time this year. So they just tightened up all the testing since February, and it's supposed to 22nd April. I think that's tomorrow, right? That's when we, so for all of you that love all of the, what do they call that? The, where the dimensions cut off. I can't think of it right now. What's that guy's name? Help me out here, Dave.
Carl Sagan?
No. Where there's time gaps with the dimensions, like Bernstein bears and all that. What do they call it? Mandela effect.
Mandela effect.
So yeah, so all of you that say CERN is causing the Mandela effect, tomorrow you might want to back up your computers tonight and stuff like that, because tomorrow the dimensions will probably split again, if you're a believer in that.
Look at that's some serious woo you just threw on the table right there.
I got a lot of things. I think Nicole is transforming me into a weirdo, but whatever. She calls it being cultured. I think it's just making me a weirdo, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, she has that woo effect on people.
She definitely has a woo effect on me. Yes, that's for sure.
Sweat wants to know, hey, random guy, has your buddy from your first time on here ever wanted to come back on?
Who's he talking about? I'm trying to think who he's talking about.
Was that NSA guy?
NSA guy's never been on. He just laughs in the background.
Yeah.
He's actually on a mission right now for China stuff.
Is he still going to make the SOR party?
Not sure. Not sure. I know he's coming back next week, and then he's got another activity plan because he tried to recruit me into it. Like, dude, you can make 15 grand in a month. I was like, yeah, I like being home with my kids.
I hear you.
Yeah, I don't know who you're talking about, Obi. Must have been one of Dave's guests that I was flirting with or something.
I'd have to go back.
Yeah, I don't recall.
It was NSA guy laughing in the background. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, he's around. He's just working every once in a while. Every once in a while, people have to work to pay bills. I can't imagine that. What a crappy life. Like, I'm joking. Paying bills.
Good old NSA guy. Give him a nice shout out tonight. Hey, NSA guy, what's happening?
He could be at the party, but you'll never know.
Oh, I think I'll know. I think I will know.
We need our little army buddy to show up again too.
Yeah.
Mr. Recon himself. Or no, he was a sapper. He wasn't Recon.
Yeah. That's how we met.
I was like, I always tease him, I'm like a sapper, huh? It's like, so you're into BDSM and stuff, or it's like that sounds aggressive. Him and his buddies didn't like that when I made that joke, but
Yeah, but his hair is always perfect.
Dude, he's pretty. He's beautiful.
He is a beautiful man.
I have some beautiful friends. I'm the ugly one, so I bring the ratio down, but it works out for us.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling. Trust me.
It's kind of like being the fat girl in the group.
That's me.
I'm not the fat girl. I'm just the ugly guy.
I'm both. Yeah. Look at that, Derek. Can't wait to meet these guys in Vegas. Nowhere to run, to hide. Time to check books and drain the wallets, all in style.
Is he writing us a rock song? I think he's writing us a rock song right now.
He's writing us a rock song right now.
That's awesome. Is that a Bumblefoot lyric? Should be, if it's not.
Totally should be.
Good stuff. All right, brother. I think I'm going to get out of here.
Yeah, you got to do your nightly phone call.
Oh, no, that's like an all day, all night phone call. But I actually have my kids in the morning, so I got to be in bed before 4 a.m.
Hey,
but it's been fun.
We'll see you in 27 days.
You will. You will, in fact, see me. All right, brother. Chat. I'll be in the chat lurking, but appreciate you guys. Good night.
Take care. Thanks, random guy. All right. Old random Gee. There he is. The old Gee. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not everybody gets a random Gee in the UFO world. We got one, though. Good old random Gee. Gotta love him. God bless that random Gee. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Here you go, people. Here you go. Wildebeests. The drunk wildebeests with a couple of oryx in the background waiting their turns for the psychopaths to get out of the way. There are no hot, juicy rumors right now, JSCO. There really aren't. It kind of sucks. I'll be right back. Hello, everybody. My name is Dave. Okay. Remove those. Rename. What the hell happened there? Oh, delete those. Rename. Yeah. Almost screwed that up. That would have been a silly move. There we go. All right. How we all doing? We having fun yet? Having fun yet? What should we do, Obi? Let me see here. What? Yeah, Penny Van, you can message me. Dino Bravo fan, let me tell you, you want to see a tough wrestler, you wait until El Ovni Volador shows up again. That dude is bad. I don't like it when he's around here. Hey, Travis, Willie Moosetoos. How you doing, buddy? Oh, dude. Obi Flet, let's go. You're driving, though. Or we'll Uber. I'm totally game. Either Friday during the early afternoon for lunch or Sunday. I'm totally game. I'm going to knock the park out of that one. How do we contact Travis? You could get him on Facebook. Travis Willier Moostus. Is he still here? Let's make it happen, Obi Flat. Oh, I'm totally in for that, dude. Totally in for that. Wow, Maggie. Is there bingo in Vegas? That'll occupy old El Ovni. Wow. Wow. Just hammering El Ovni. Hold on. Taco Bell. Sit down. Las Vegas. Is. There it is. The flagship restaurant. Oh my. Oh my. I'm getting fat just thinking about it. Totally getting fat just thinking about it. That's just ridiculous. Let's talk about Canada. No, I don't want that. Las Vegas. Sorry, we don't deliver to your location. Of course you don't. Nobody delivers to my location, you dirty sons of guns. I have eaten at the Pink Taco in the Luxor. Loved their food. Obi, where is that place? Is it obviously it's off the strip? Derek Galloway, wash your mouth out with soap. We're not done yet. I said this series was going 6. Oh, look at the baby. Look at the baby there. They got babies. Oh, Greg, thank you, man. Appreciate that, my man. Thank you. That's very nice. All the way from Thailand, the Thai bot. One of these days, Greg, I'm going to go to Thailand. Heard too many good things about it. Juliana, how big is your barn? How many horses you have? Or is it cattle? That equates to $39.40 Canadian. Thank you, Greg. Very much appreciate that. One's done. That one's done. Beauty. Beauty. It's on the strip mall. Just below Paris. A mile or two down from Fremont. Oh, dude, yeah, we're making time for that on Friday. Meet me at the Nugget like at 11:30, dude, and we're gonna go in the morning. That is, we're gonna go 100%. We're going. We're gonna drag Love v Love with us. All right, everyone. You guys go get your weekend started. Don't forget about After Hours and Jessica for Off the Trails this weekend. I will be back on Monday, where my guest will be, let's see here, Lon Strickler, the handsome and talented Lon Strickler. Yep, we will bring Lon back for Strange Days. Thank you. Tonight to Louie ×2, Mike ×2, Big Dog Grant, Obi, Deb, Derek, Jeff, Raven, Thomas, Cat, and Greg for the awesome super chats. Thank you so much. Thank you to all our new subscribers, and thank you for everything you guys do, man. You guys make it so much fun. I'm going to go eat some ice cream before I go to bed, and that's going to really make me happy. Rolo ice cream. That's the bomb right there. Rolo ice cream. I will talk to you guys very soon. You all take care. We'll see you on Monday.
healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.